Sad news for the NBA community. Rest in peace to former NBA All-Star and two-time Defensive Player of the Year, Mark Eaton. After a bike crash, the 7'4" Eaton had an 11-year career, all with the Utah Jazz, seen with Rudy Gobert in 2019 when they both shared a moment with their Defensive Player of the Year awards. Eaton, known as one of the best shot blockers in NBA history, a guy who was all defense and defense only, had one of the most unique journeys to the NBA. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Today, we'll take a look at Mark Eaton's NBA career and the legacy he built. Born on January 24th, 1957 in Inglewood, California, young Mark was more interested in playing water polo than basketball. After graduating high school, Eaton became a service technician and worked as an auto mechanic for 3 years repairing cars. Since he didn't receive any basketball offers at his age, many 7-footers would be either playing high-level D1 ball or already making the NBA. Mark, however, had no talent in basketball at first, was making $20,000 a year and didn't see the point in giving that up to go to college, since that was a lot of money back then in the late 70s. After being discovered by a guy named Tom Luprin, a chemistry professor who was an assistant coach at Cypress College, since Mark was 2 feet taller than most of his customers, the assistant coach convinced the tall Eaton to enroll at the community college, so young Mark decided to give it a shot, would go on to average 14.3 points in 2 seasons and won a California state title. Although Eaton was drafted by the Phoenix Suns in the 79 draft with the 107th pick, 5th round, eligible since he was already 4 years out of high school, decided to transfer to UCLA, a college basketball powerhouse. Didn't see much action given his lack of production, spent most of his minutes sitting on the bench. Nobody expected Eaton to become an NBA player. In 2 seasons with UCLA, the 275-pound center averaged 1.8 points, 2.4 rebounds in 30 games, played 6.5 minutes. Because he sat on the bench for so long, didn't mean nobody noticed him. NBA great Wilt Chamberlain would occasionally work out in LA, was responsible for helping Eaton's basketball career pay forward, gave him great advice.
Wilt grabbed me by the arm, took me out on the floor, positioned me right in front of the basket. He said, "You see this basket? Your job is to stop players from getting it. Your job is to make them miss their shot, get the rebound, throw it up to the guard, but then go down the other end and score it. And your job is to cruise up the half court and see what's going on."
Discovering his talents, Mark took Wilt's advice to heart and focused on protecting the rim at will.
He said, "I've been watching you the past few days, and I see the skill you have at defense. This is what you need to concentrate on. This is what you need to focus on." When Wilt shared that with me, everything changed.
Recognizing his strength, knowing his job was not trying to do good at everything, but mastering his biggest strength, Eaton simply narrowed his focus and intensified it.
Wilt showed me what my job was and how doing what I did would benefit my team. In that moment, I knew what I needed to focus on and what I needed to let go of.
Former Utah Jazz coach Frank Layden gave Eaton a chance since he came to training camp a month early, and after working out relentlessly, Eaton was given a spot on the Jazz team for a year, a struggling franchise at the very bottom of the bottom. Eaton and his team reached out to the Jazz and tried to make a spot possible, since they won 25 games in 82, 28 in 81, and 24 games in 1980 after relocating from New Orleans. The franchise 0 playoff appearance before Big Mark arrived. By focusing on protecting the rim as his primary job and not trying to do too much in other aspects of the game, the 25-year-old rookie went on to average 4.3 points, 5.7 rebounds, 3.4 block shots as a rookie, started 32 games, played 81, finished the season with 275 block shots, a franchise best behind Trey Rollins and Bill Walton. The last time any player in the NBA had more than 275 blocks in a season, Marcus Camby in 2008 with 285. No other player had more in the year since. Although Utah won just 30 games, his second season, the 26-year-old played all 82 games, blocked 351 shots, led the league averaging 4.3 rejections, helped the franchise make its first ever playoff appearance. The one shot he failed to block was Kareem Jabbar's skyhook, which made him the all-time leading scorer. Eaton's third season was sensational, averaged a career best 9.8 points, 11.3 rebounds, 5.6 block shots. Yes, 5.6 blocks per game in 34 minutes, more than double the league's second-ranked shot blocker in Hakeem, who averaged 2.7 rejections. Eaton, being the fifth leading rebounder, made defensive first team, won defensive player of the year, had a playoff game scoring 10 points with 10 rejections, the first to reach double-digit blocks in one postseason game. Most of his scoring came from tippy-toe dunks. 86 was Malone's rookie season and Stockton's second year, Eaton being 5 years older than Stockton and 6 older than the mailman. If they were all around the same age, Utah would have had more success and a better shot at winning a title. After making back-to-back defensive first teams, Big Mark continued to anchor the paint in the 87 season, his third blocks title at 4.1 a game, and another in 88. Since winning his first blocks title, the only bigs to win it over him since he was in the league, 7'7" Manute Bol, Hakeem Olajuwon, both having multiple blocks titles, and David Robinson in 92. Eaton was recognized for his defensive excellence in the 89 season, being selected as an All-Star, averaged 3.8 blocks over 10 boards. To put his success in perspective, the 80s had some of the very best defensive players the game has ever seen. Eaton won Defensive Player of the Year over the likes of two-timer Sidney Moncrief in 85, finished third in 87 behind Michael Cooper and Alvin Robertson, second behind Michael Jordan in 88. Yes, Big Mark was number 2 that year and slightly above Hakeem that season, and winning it again in 89 over Hakeem and Pistons Dennis Rodman goes to show the excellence and impact of Eaton protecting the paint, used every bit of his size as an advantage. After being named an All-Star, 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 3 first-team All-Defense, 2 second-team All-Defense, a 4-time blocks champion, doing so between the ages of 25 and 32. Remember, Eaton started his career very late. If he would have committed fully to basketball and had good assistance and met Will Chamberlain years earlier, Mark Eaton could have been a Hall of Famer, made himself one of the best late-round steals in NBA history. During the 89 All-Star game, Eaton still considered the only All-Star in NBA history to not attempt a single shot or free throw at the All-Star game that played, but had 2 blocks, of course. His Jazz went on to win 51 games in 89 as well. As Stockton and Malone were getting better, Eaton would gradually slow down due to age. In the 90 season, his minutes declined to 28, averaged 2.5 rejections, nearly 1 full block lower than any of his previous 7 seasons. The next year, the 55-win Jazz, led by superstar Malone's 31.11 rebound average, Stockton's 17 points 14.5 times. Team got upset in round 1 by Kevin Johnson and Tom Chambers' Suns. By 92, Eaton was already 35 by the time. Utah was getting ready for the postseason, still started 81 games, became more limited. Most bigs would have retired at that age. Still put up 2.5 rejections, but just 3.3 points. The best roster Big Mark's ever been part of, 55 wins. The Mailman's 28-11, Stockton's 16 points, 14 dimes, 3 steals, Jeff Malone's 20 points. Role players Blue Edwards, Tyrone Corbin, and Darryl Bailey. Eaton averaged 2.6 blocks in the Clippers series. Also stellar in the 5-game semis win over the Sonics. Made the conference finals for the first time in his career. Put up 2 rejections, but Clyde Drexler and Terry Porter's Blazers too much for Utah to handle, falling in 6 games of competitive series. Eaton then dealt with knee and back injuries, despite remaining an imposing defensive presence. Once his rebounding and shot blocking numbers declined, Big Mark finally played his final season in 92-93, 64 games, averaged just 17 minutes, 2.8 points, 1.2 blocks. After losing to the Supersonics in round 1, elected to retire September 28th of 1994, had his number 53 jersey retired by the franchise. An 11-year successful basketball career, made the postseason 10 times, earned over $9.1 million, inducted into the Utah Sports Hall of Fame in 2010. The 4th all-time NBA leading shot blocker, was 2nd all-time when he retired behind Jabbar. The fact that Eaton came into the league at 25 and still had more total career blocks than Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Shaq, amongst other great defensive bigs, goes to show when you're great at one thing and you focus 100% on it each and every day and master it, success will come. To this day, Mark Eaton remains number 1 on the NBA all-time blocks per game leader at 3.5 blocks for his career. 3.5 blocks over 875 games. The only active player as of 2021 to average 3.5 blocks for any season, Serge Ibaka and Hassan Whiteside each did it once. To this day, Eaton also still holds the record for most block shots in a season, 456 rejections in 1985, considered an outlier amongst all NBA players. Eaton had no real comparisons coming into the league. For a 7'4" giant to not miss more than 3 games in each of his first 10 seasons in the league, also pretty remarkable. Able to dominate a game defensively without even moving much or jumping at all. A lot of superstars had trouble scoring in the paint when Big Mark was around. One of the most unlikely journeys to the NBA. Being on a winning team helped change the culture of the Jazz franchise. After retirement, Eaton only further established himself as a member of the Salt Lake community, an owner of multiple restaurants, became an author and motivational speaker, talked about his playing career and how he became successful at it, a mentor to Rudy Gobert, worked as a commentator for Jazz and University of Utah games, was president of the National Basketball Retired Players Association from 97 to 2007, founded the Mark Eaton Standing Tall for Youth organization, made an appearance in the 2013 dunk contest, assisting former Jazz player Jeremy Evans. Very respected and well-spoken, Eaton lived in Park City, Utah, released a book a few years ago called The 4 Commitments of a Winning Team. His story, upbringing, legacy with the Utah Jazz, and after retirement as a successful business owner and motivational speaker, exemplifies what it means to live life to the fullest and achieving success, motivating others, being able to share his incredible journey from a 21-year-old auto mechanic with no future to breaking records in the NBA, even becoming an all-star, a legend taken too soon at 64, a class act, a true professional. Eaton's abilities to connect with others through teamwork, his legacy and positive impact will never be forgotten.